We talked about the metabolism as a stress barometer. Well, one of the things that stresses out your metabolism is this calorie gap between what you take in terms of calories and what you burn in terms of calories. That is a stress, and we call that the calorie gap. That gap in calories registers as a stress to your stress barometer. Now, by the same token, if you're burning a ton of calories and you're also not taking enough in to recover, that also is a big stress to your metabolism. Now, what does your metabolism do in response to stress? Well, it engages its ancient survival software, the starvation response, which means you're going to feel hungry, you're going to have cravings, you're going to have unpredictable and unstable energy levels, and your metabolism is actually going to slow down a little bit, conserving fuel, conserving fat, rather than burning it. And that's where the 4 toggles come in. These are critically important to understand. Toggle 1 you're very familiar with. It's called the dieter toggle. This is the eat less, exercise more approach, or ELEM. Oftentimes when you do this, you will have increased hunger and cravings, fat and muscle loss. It's a large calorie spread. There's large metabolic compensations. We all know it relies heavily on willpower. It often employs unnecessary food eliminations. It really should not be done for longer than 1 to 4 weeks, but most people do it and try to do it forever and ever, which is part of the problem. It's not that it's a bad thing, it's just oftentimes done too long. And when you do it too long, it can cause weight gain rebound. It is best for active vacations, brief periods of weight loss, like getting ready for a reunion or going on a vacation or a photo shoot or something like that, or in a cyclical dieting lifestyle where you use it in an early type of spring type of atmosphere. So the eat less, exercise more approach is very familiar, but it has some strengths and it has some weaknesses. Now, we also have the couch potato model, the eat more, exercise less approach. This is also very familiar to people. This also triggers cravings. It's probably the least healthy and the most risky out of all the toggles. It leads to fat gain and muscle gain, the exact opposite of the dieter model. And it also creates a large calorie spread, just like the dieter model. It's best limited to 1 to 4 days only. It can be used for cheat meals, refeeds, recovery from intense exercise. It's not bad to use during holidays. And if you're going to use a cyclical lifestyle, it's often best employed in the late fall. Now, these 2 you're familiar with. The other 2 are less familiar to people and more rare. The first one is the hunter-gatherer toggle. We call this the eat less, exercise less approach. This has a smaller calorie gap. Therefore, it stabilizes hunger and cravings because it is not as stressful as the dieter toggle and the couch potato toggle. It is most in line with the way we evolved as humans. It creates the calorie deficit for weight loss through food. There are different types of things you can use here. Keto diets and fasting diets, believe it or not, are variations on this particular approach. One thing about this toggle that people need to understand is there is lots of movement, just not a whole lot of exercise. And you've learned in the last education that we really have to take movement and exercise as 2 different things. It gives you a wide range of food choices. It can be done indefinitely. This is the one that most people can live in for a very long time. Just think about traditional Europeans. This is very much the way they lived, or even your great-grandparents in the Western world. It is best for people who don't do a lot of exercise or can't do a lot of exercise due to injuries and things like that, or frailty. It is great for stress reduction. It's great to use during illnesses. It's good for relaxing vacations. And if you're going to use it in a cyclical dieting lifestyle, winter is one of the best times to do this. In fact, our hunter-gatherer ancestors oftentimes lived this lifestyle in winter necessarily as part of the environment that they lived in. Now, the athlete toggle is the last toggle. We call this the eat more, exercise more, or EMEM toggle. Just like the eat less, exercise less toggle, this stabilizes hunger and cravings because it balances out the calorie gap and does not stress the metabolism stress barometer. You create your calorie deficit with this toggle through exercise. Your food fuels the performance, and you also can have a wide range of food choices here. It can also be used for muscle gain because it is very good at potentially creating a calorie excess, which, when used along with exercise, can help you gain muscle. It can be used for longer periods of time. Best is about 12 weeks, and it's really good for people who love to exercise, perfect for athletes, and if you're going to live the cyclical dieting lifestyle, it's best in late spring through early fall. So these are the 4 toggles that you're going to get very familiar with. 2 you know well, 2 not so well. The hunter-gatherer and the athlete are the ones that you really, really want to make judicious use of. Now, once again, the eat less, exercise more and eat more, exercise less models create a large calorie gap and therefore are more stressful. This does not mean that they are bad. It just means you have to be a little bit more careful when using them. Eat less, exercise less narrows the calorie gap. Calories are adjusted via food, not exercise. The eat more, exercise more approach also narrows the calorie gap, and the calories are adjusted via exercise rather than food. And then there's really one more toggle you need to be associated with or familiar with, and this is the ES toggle, or the eat some, exercise some toggle. This is where you're basically in maintenance phase. It's what we call isocaloric. There is no calorie gap. The amount of food coming in matches exactly the amount of activity that you're doing. So here's how this works. Eat less, exercise more. We really do not want to do this more than 2 to 4 weeks. Eat more, exercise less. Couch potato, we really don't want to do this for more than 4 to 7 days. Eat less, exercise less. The sort of hunter-gatherer, we can do this 12 weeks or much longer. We can live here indefinitely. And then the eat more, exercise more approach is best, this athlete approach is best for 8 to 12 weeks. And once you sort of get into the results that you want and the balance you want, you can cycle between these, or you can live in this sort of eat some, exercise some state.